Welcome, everybody. I'm Lane Levanway, and you know what time it is. So let's sit back, relax, and let's talk about Constantine, Episode 9, The Saints of Last Resorts, Part 2. Alright, guys, it was finally here. Constantine is back. Now, I'm getting this episode out a little bit later than usual, but that's just the way it is. Now, we're back for Episode 9 at a new time. It's for me, it was 8 p.m. Friday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, but I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern as well, and so it's 2 hours earlier than it used to be. Will that help for the show to survive? I hope so. We're still only up for the 13 episodes. That's all we get this year, and no word yet on whether or not it's going to be renewed. But hopefully, if these last few episodes do well, it will get renewed. Now, you can join me every week after every episode, and we'll do this little discussion about the episode. Now, keep in mind, I'm not actually reviewing the episode. I just go over my personal top 5 moments of what I really enjoyed. And this week was a doozy. I loved this episode. I know I don't review it, but I loved it. Is it a perfect episode? No. It did leave some things on the sideline, and you had Zed escape really easily for the setup they gave her at the end of last episode where she was getting captured. And then you learned about the Brujeria, the ancient warlock magicians who look like they're going to be the Rising Darkness, and then they really didn't have much to do in this episode. And then like the big bad guy was like the original tempter, the snake in the Garden of Eden. He was like this cool bad guy, but he didn't pose much of a threat when it came down to it. And then the exorcism at the end may have been a little easy, considering it was supposed to be like a king of demons, but everything was still awesome. So let's get to it, my top 5 moments. Number 1. Okay, we've got to go right from the beginning. My number 1 is John putting the demon Pazuzu into him, allowing that demon to possess his body so that he could survive. At the end of the part 1, Anne-Marie had shot him to leave him for, I can't remember what they were called, but that like ancient crazy demon thing, so that she could get the kids out, and that John was sacrificing John for these kids. So John's shot, he's bleeding, this thing's coming to get him, and he's got the demon in the necklace or whatever, and so he basically opens it up, whatever, and jams it into his arm. And then you even see as he's trying, this demon creature thing like starts gnawing on his leg, and he's like, why did he do it? Because he had to heal that wound. He knew he wanted to put that demon into him to heal the wound, and so that was insane. Like, I knew he was gonna somehow get possessed from the previews, but puts it in him, and that has to be number 1. Then right off the bat, John gets possessed by a demon. Number 2. Okay, let's go for number 2. Let's go for Manny, the angel. He was great. I love Manny. And I loved right after John and put the demon himself, Manny appears and he's like, what are you doing? You can't have both. You can't both be of the Lord and the demon. You can't have a demon inside. You can't basically accept the devil and somehow be the Lord. And John's like, well, I didn't see you. You weren't there to help me. And he's like, you didn't ask. You didn't ask for my help. And he's pretty upset. Manny's upset that John would go to this level, and it's like, it's not that I can't help you, John, it's that I won't. And then later in the prison, when John's in prison, and they have a discussion there about what's John going to do, and Manny kind of does want it. Like, he hopes that John's able to pull this thing off and get and exorcise the demon out of him, because there aren't many people like John. And then at the end of the episode, he's watching over the scene. And did he help? Did he actually help with the exorcism? We're not sure, but he was certainly there. He had a vested interest in what was going on. And I love Manny, and there was a lot of talk about, like, with Zed and Anne-Marie, about how, all this thing with you, a woman of God. John actually talks to angels. Like, there's a vested interest in John. He speaks with angels. He's clearly doing something right. Love Manny. Number 3. Okay, so number 3, let's talk about John as a demon. There's the first time John can't control the demon. He runs and takes off. And they're like, we gotta find John before something bad happens. Because John figured he had a couple days before the demon could really take hold inside of him. And they're like, well, how much trouble could he get into? And then you see John waking up on the street and bodies around him and like severed arms and guts, and the cops are there to get him because he just killed all these people. as a possessed demon, he killed all those people. But it was great. You didn't get to see the scene. You didn't get to watch him kill all these people, but you see the aftermath that John has to live with, and it was very cool and subdued. Plus, there's the special effects budget that can make that kind of thing easier to not show on camera. Plus, in prison, when the gang that he killed on the street know that those members that are in prison know that John did this, and so they're coming after him, and they get him cornered like in a room. I was gonna say library, but it's more like a little church, I think. And so they want to fight him. And he's like, "Don't do this," because as he starts to get in danger, that's pulling the demon out to protect him. Because the demon doesn't want John's body dead. The demon wants John's body. And then you see him, he transforms his eyes, turn red, and spit on John. And Matt Ryan does a fantastic job here. And then it cuts outside the room, and you just hear screaming, and all this blood comes out from under the door. There it goes. And then John is waking up again. You see John waking up like out in the courtyard, and like everybody's freaked out by him. And like he basically at that point runs the prison. So the prison is now his because of that. Everyone's scared the crap out of him. He just slaughters everybody. And so he's the big dog now. Number 4. Okay, number 4, let's talk about the sexy moments of this week's episode. There were 2 definitely nice, sexy moments if you're a fan of Zed or Anne-Marie. You get when Chaz and Zed need to get into the prison to try to get John his stuff. And there's a line of prostitutes who get in, and Zed's like, "Oh, I grew up near a prison like this, I know how it works." And she takes her bra off, and she kind of poofs her hair up, pulls her shirt up, and she struts herself up to the prison so that she can get in. So you get this nice, like, sexified Zed, which was very nice if you like Zed. And then also Anne-Marie has the ability to like send herself out, you learn, so she can be in 2 places at once. It's like this ghostly image of her that can be sent out. Well, when they're trying to get John out, and Chaz and her dress like doctors, and they're taking John's body out. Well, the guard that Chaz beat up to get into the prison is there, and he's like, "Oh, we can't get by because that guard, I broke his nose. He'll know he knows me." So what does Anne-Marie do? She projects a naked image of herself outside the prison asking for help. Well, she has panties on, but she's covering up her top because she's nude. And she's like, "Oh, I just was robbed. Somebody help me. Help me, I was robbed." And so, of course, that easily distracts the guards just enough to not pay enough attention to realize that this guy coming out is the guy who broke his nose. And he just sort of looks at the paperwork. "Yep, you guys are good. Doctors, patient, dead body, get out. There's a naked girl over here." So a little bit of sexy Anne-Marie going, because most of the time you just see her in the nun's outfit, the habit. That's all you get to see her in. But here you get to see the actress practically naked. And so again, a nice sexy moment. So 2 really good sexy moments for this week's episode. Number 5. Okay, so number 5, we're going to go at the end. We're going to go with the exorcism. Now, even though I thought that the exorcism maybe was a little short, considering that Pazuzu was supposed to be like this king of demons or whatever, but it was still this great scene, and Matt Ryan is beautiful as he's just beautifully acting as, his eyes keep changing back, and he's got the slobber, and he goes from these moments of intense rage to just sort of like, "Oh no," just like helplessness, "Help me, if you got to kill me, you got to kill me, and don't listen to anything I have to say," and stuff like that. And then, of course, as Pazuzu comes out trying to stop them, and Pazuzu's attacking every single member, Zed and Anne-Marie, about how worthless and crap they all are, and John doesn't care about any of them, which is a little cliche, but it still worked really good. I really liked the scene. It was this powerful moment. The special effects were decent as John's flying around, and you get to see these 3 come together, and Anne-Marie has to sort of, deal with some of the issues she has because of Newcastle, which we still haven't really seen Newcastle yet. Hopefully that pops up in another episode. I like an episode about what happened at Newcastle. But so the exorcism was my number 5. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Hashtag Save Constantine. We want to keep this show going. I know it was trending this week on Twitter. I didn't get to live tweet the show this time. The earlier time makes it actually harder for me to live tweet because before at 10 o'clock, my family was awake, or my family was sleeping. Everybody's in bed, and so it was easy for me just to sit down, live tweet the show. Well, with the show at 8 o'clock, my family's all awake, and so it's harder for me necessarily to sit down. I actually DVR'd the show and watched it, an hour and a half later in the evening because of that. So I didn't get to live tweet it. I will try to live tweet it if you guys are interested in that. It's just the earlier show actually for me makes it harder to live tweet. So that's it for this week. Next week, it looks like we get to learn more about Chaz. Matt Ryan tweeted that you're going to find out about why Chaz is the way he is, and you see some stuff in the preview about something going on with his kid, and so if you're interested in Chaz, that's what we're going to come into. So if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and share this around with your friends, with your Constantine friends, and let's make sure we're hashtag save Constantine and trying to keep the show trending and in NBC sites. We want to try to get the ratings up because I'd love, even if it's only a 13 episode season 2, I'd love to get a season 2. And of course, if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to Cine-Love so you're aware of all the content coming out. You can see the Constantine stuff and my movie reviews. I'm going to have American Sniper coming up soon. My wife and I got to go see that. And then we've, of course, got Psych Flicks where my friend Jess Willens talks about movies from a psychological standpoint, and he analyzes characters, and it's a great show if you haven't seen it. Now, we've missed, because of some illness and travel, we've missed a couple weeks of that, but it will be coming back. Don't you worry, guys. So keep watching Constantine. And keep watching here. Stay tuned here to talk about Constantine. Leave your comments down below for your own top 5 and what you thought about the episode. And if you agree with me or didn't agree with me. And until next time, watch more TV.